This is Wizard Grandpa's Stories.
Oh, hello there. How nice to see you. Welcome to Wizard Grandpa's Stories. Well, today I'd like to tell you the story of Rumpelstiltskin. Now, once upon a time, there was a miller, and he was a very proud man and liked to boast, even when he had nothing to boast about. And one day, the king was riding nearby, and the miller stepped outside of his mill and waved to the king. "Hello, miller," said the king. "What's the news today?" "Oh," said the boastful miller, "my daughter is quite amazing, your majesty. She can spin straw into gold. Not many people can do that, you know." Well, the king took him at face value and believed what he said. "Your daughter can spin straw into gold? That's amazing. She must come to the palace straight away and show me how to do it." Well, what could the miller do? He couldn't say he'd been lying. So the miller brought her to the king's palace, and the king took her to a room full of straw, with a spinning wheel in the middle. And he said to the girl, "You must stay in here all night and spin all of this straw into gold. If you don't do it, I will have you killed." And he left her there. Well, what was the poor girl to do? She sat there crying. How could she possibly spin straw into gold? She cried and she cried and she cried. And then, suddenly, pop, out of nowhere, a little man appeared. "Hello, young girl," said the man. "Why are you crying?" "Oh," she said, "I've been told I have to spin all of this straw into gold, and if I don't do it, the king will have me executed." "Don't cry," said the little man. "I will do it for you. Everything will be fine. But if I do it, what will you give me?" Oh, said the girl, "I will give you the ring from my finger." "Yes, that will be fine," said the little man. And he sat down at the spinning wheel and span and span and span and turned all of the straw into gold. The girl gave him the ring from her finger, and he disappeared, just like that. The next morning, the king came in and was amazed to see piles of gold sitting there where the straw had been. Well, my dear, you have done a good job. Come with me." And he took her to another room, an even bigger room that was also full of straw. "You've done so well, my dear," he said. "You can do even better this time. Spin all of this straw into gold, and I will be very happy. If you don't, then I'm afraid in the morning I will have you executed." Well, the girl sat there in the room, and she cried and cried and cried. What was she to do? She didn't know how to spin straw into gold. And as she sat there crying, suddenly, pop, out of the air appeared the same little man. "Why are you crying, pretty girl?" he said. "Well, the king has told me I must spin all of this straw into gold, and if I don't do it, I am to die." "Don't worry," said the little man. "I can do it for you. But what will you give me?" Oh, said the girl, I will give you the necklace I am wearing." "That sounds fine to me," said the little man. And he sat down at the spinning wheel and span and span and span and span for hour after hour until finally all of the straw had been turned into gold. "And now my wages, please," he said. The girl unfastened her necklace and gave it to him. "Thank you," he said, and pop, disappeared, just like that. When the king came the next morning, he was very pleased to see so much gold in the room. "You've done very well, my dear, very well indeed. Now come with me." And he took her to a barn, a huge, great barn, an enormous barn, full to the roof with straw. And he said to her, "This is your final test, my dear. Spin all of this straw into gold, and you will be free. If you don't, then I'm afraid I will have you executed." Oh, all right." And the king left her alone in the barn. But as he went out, he thought to himself, "This girl is truly very special. See how she can spin the straw into gold. If she succeeds in this task, then I will marry her, and she will be my queen." Well, back in the barn, the girl sat there and cried, and cried, and cried, and cried. And then, pop, out of the air appeared the same little man. "Oh, pretty girl, why are you crying?" "Oh, hello again, little man. The king has told me to spin all of this straw into gold. And if I don't do it in the morning, I shall die." "Don't worry," said the little man. "I will spin this straw into gold for you, but you must give me something in return." "Oh," said the girl, "I gave you my ring. I gave you my necklace. I have nothing left to give." "Well, let me see," said the little man. "How about this? If you were to become queen, and if you were to have a baby, then you must promise to give that baby to me." The girl laughed. "Oh, of course, that's fine. That's wonderful. I will never be queen. Yes, I agree. Please spin all the straw into gold." The little man sat down at the spinning wheel and span and span and span and span all night long until all of the straw had been turned into gold. Ho! There were piles and piles of gold. "There you are, young lady," said the little man. "I have done what you asked." "Oh, thank you, little man, thank you." "Just remember," he said, "just remember what you promised me in return for this task." "Oh, yes," she laughed. "I remember. Thank you so much." The little man smiled at her, and pop, he disappeared, just like that. Shortly afterwards, the king came in. Well, he was amazed to see how the straw had disappeared, and in its place were piles and piles and piles of gold. "This is wonderful," he said. "And as for you, my dear, I would like you to be my queen. Please marry me." But of course, how could the girl say no? She was delighted to become the queen. She was so delighted, she forgot what she had promised the little man. So the girl became the queen, and she lived very happily as queen together with the king, and time went by, and then one day she gave birth to a baby. A lovely baby boy. And of course she'd forgotten completely about the little man and what she'd promised him. But the night the baby was born, he appeared out of nowhere in her bedroom. "So, little girl, you've become the queen now. Oh, what do you want? Why are you here? Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten what you promised? When I span the straw into gold, you said you would give me your baby. That was the price. You agreed it." Oh, the queen was desperate. She remembered now. She had agreed to it. "No, I can't. I can't give you my baby. No, I can't." "You must. You promised, and you must keep to your promise." No, I can't." "I will give you one chance," he said. I will give you 3 days to guess my name. If you guess my name, you may keep your baby. If you don't guess it, the baby will be mine. And he disappeared, just like that. Well, the Queen was desperate, as you can imagine. What was she to do now? She couldn't tell the king. She had to solve this by herself. So the whole of the day she sat there thinking of all the names in the world, writing them down, every name she could think of. And that evening, when the little man came back, out of nowhere, she was ready for him. She took out her book of names and began reading through them. Is it John? Is it Peter? Is it Henry? Is it David? Is it Charles? And each time he said, nope, 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 nope. She went through the book, page after page after page. Is it Philip? Is it Stephen? Is it John? No, no, no. She got to the end of her book and all the names she'd written down and hadn't guessed his name. You have 2 more days. You must try harder. If by the 3rd day you haven't guessed my name, I will take your baby. And the little man disappeared, just like that. The next day, the Queen had an idea. She called all of her messengers and sent them across the country and told them to collect every name they came across, however strange, however different, and bring all the names back to her by that evening. And they did. The evening came, and she had piles and piles of new names to try. And then, just when it was getting dark, the little man appeared out of nowhere. Good evening, Queen, he said. Have you some more names for me? I don't think you will have mine amongst them. No, no, no. She picked up her new list of names and began. Is it Longshanks? Nope. Is it Farquhar? Nope. Is it Bilbo? Nope. Frodo? Nope. On and on she went. And she came to the end of her long, long list and hadn't guessed his name. That's your second chance, my Queen. You have 1 more. Good night. And he disappeared. Plop, just like that. She had 1 more day to find out his name. And she didn't know what else to try. So she called her messengers once more and said to them, cover the whole country and find for me the strangest of names, the most different names, any new names you can. And out they went. When the evening came, the messengers came back one by one, and they reported to her and said, there are no more names, Your Majesty. I couldn't find any new ones. As they came back one by one, each one told her, no more names, couldn't find any more, until there was only one messenger left to come back. And he came late in the evening and reported to the Queen. Have you something for me? She said, anything, anything. And he said, well, Your Majesty, I've ridden far and wide today and found no new names at all. But when I was coming back and evening began to descend, I saw a fire in the woods. And I rode towards it and silently crept up, for there was a little man dancing around the fire, a strange little man. I've never seen anyone like him before. And he was singing a song, and it was something like this. Tomorrow the Queen's baby I shall claim, for Rumpelstiltskin is my name. Tomorrow the Queen's baby I shall claim, for Rumpelstiltskin is my name. I'm afraid, Your Majesty, that's the only thing I have to report. Well, the Queen was delighted, for she knew this was the little man. Secretly she was pleased and decided not to let him see. Later that evening, pop, he appeared. Well, Your Majesty, he said with a big smile on his face, I've come to collect my baby. Do you by any chance know my name? The Queen pretended to be nervous, and she took out her book and said, is it Peter? You've asked me that already. Is it Felicity? Come, come, come. That's a girl's name, and I am not a girl. Is it Bilbo? You've already asked me that as well. Come, my lady, I think you've run out of ideas. And then she said, is it, by any chance, Rumpelstiltskin? The little man let out such a screech, and he stamped his foot on the ground with such power, his foot went right into the ground. And when he tried to pull his foot out, he tore himself in two and disappeared forever. The Queen let out such a sigh. She'd guessed correctly, and the little man was gone, and her baby was hers forever. And that was the story of Rumpelstiltskin. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, and share. And next time you come, bring all your friends. Bye-bye. 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 Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.